Hi, I'm Kevin Coop,
And I'm Tom Furphy.
and this is the Innovation Conversation. We're actually going to do it live instead of doing it by email this time because we happen to be in the city at the same time, in the same place. We're actually doing a live innovation conversation for a company that asked us to come do it, something we like to do. And so, by the way, if you're interested, just let me know. I'm sure we can work something out. It seems to me a good time because there continues to be lots of speculation in the media about Amazon's plans to open some sort of supermarket chain. We don't know anything about it. But it's a good time to focus, I think, on the fact that Amazon remains an amazingly strong competitor in the CPG space.
I think a lot bigger than people think. Depending on what source you look at for the total volume, it could be as low as 18 billion, as high as somewhere in the 20s. I think pretty consistently people think it's around 21 billion. And I would say across our businesses and working with Amazon, that's probably pretty accurate.
Yeah. And the interesting thing to me about that is, and we've talked a lot about replenishment, I write about it all the time, you're obviously in the replenishment business, is that replenishment is somewhere between, 30-40% of that. It's an enormous piece of that pie.
Yeah, no, it runs about, and you can ask, and those of you in CPG land out there that work with Amazon, somewhere between a third and a half of your volume is done in Subscribe and Save on Amazon. So we tend to think of it across the category as somewhere around 40%. So call it $8 or $9 billion out of the 21.
And it'll be so interesting to see how they innovate in this new thing that they're going to create, and they haven't shown it to anybody yet. I don't even know when it's going to open, late this year, early next year. It seems to me that if you're going to create something that's going to have, it's going to try and get people to come into the store, they're going to have a compelling fresh food offering. Hopefully they've learned stuff from Whole Foods in that case, because I don't think they've been particularly good at it on their own.
I agree.
But the other thing is, what are they going to do in terms of CPG? Is it likely that they would have a convenience play in the front of the house, and then everything else would be a dock, a click and collect kind of setup?
Well, nobody really knows, right? I would think that they wouldn't replicate a traditional grocery center store, right? Lining up aisles of products to go and shop them is not all that compelling. It's kind of an older school value proposition. So, yeah, will they have a long, an extended aisle that can be accessed through, replenishment and click and collect with orders you pick up locally or orders that are delivered locally? That's certainly a possibility and would fit the format very well. Will they offer a limited assortment of deeply discounted products? That could be interesting. Will they focus on their own private label? Because we know that they've been doing a lot of innovation. Some may argue whether it's innovation or not, but they've been doing a lot of work in and around private label across many categories, and that may be another big opportunity for them in the grocery space as well.
Do they tie it into Prime, which I still think could be, they have more data on Prime. Could they give either Prime members better prices? Could they only open whatever the store is to Prime members for the first 6 months? Could they do something to drive up that kind of connection?
It seems to me that Prime would need to be a big element of the experience, whether it's a prerequisite to enter the store or whether there's an enhanced experience if you're Prime. They're pretty focused on continually improving the value of Prime. So I would have to think that would be a key element of the experience.
And again, we're just guessing, but it seems to me that they have so many different secret sauces that they use in their recipes, right, to make things different, that the one thing I think would surprise me if they didn't at least employ 1, 2, 3 of those things in this new format. In part because they understand, I think better than most, that you're successful where you're different, not where you're the same. And they're not going to be different if they're just trying to sell Tide and Oreos and cornflakes the same way everybody else is.
I say this over and over again, and I really feel like I say it too much, but it's absolutely the way Amazon thinks about it. They don't necessarily need or try to be different. What they try to be is effective. They try to focus on their customer, obsess over their customer's needs, and solve those needs without traditional constraints. Right, so they don't need to be constrained by a traditional format. They don't need to be constrained by traditional technologies. They look and say, here's a customer problem, and here's how we can solve it. And they are relentless at their pursuit of solving that. And so they often come out the other end with something that's very different than we've seen in the past. But there may be elements of what we've seen in the past that have worked for customers that they would maintain.
But I would argue that kind of relentless focus on the customer and the ability to use data better than pretty much anybody out there in the retail side is what inherently makes them different.
Absolutely.
Right. They
Absolutely.
have a connection.
Yeah.
And the amazing thing to me is, to this day, some people don't get it. And you had recently an exchange with somebody that just illustrates the degree to which somebody just doesn't get it.
Yeah, I can't. Somebody in one of our companies was speaking to a relatively senior executive at a relatively large U.S. Store-based grocery company, and this person said, first of all, they weren't even aware of Amazon Subscribe and Save, which is crazy to me because there's tens of millions of subscribers out there, and again with this amount of volume
and
that
if
they
it's
do,
doing a third to 40 to 45% of a $20 billion business,
it'd be a top
that's
15 grocer based on just that volume. But this person said, I don't know anybody would sign up to have regular delivery of something like paper towels. And we were thinking, well, why wouldn't you? Why would you opt to go to the store, walk down the aisle, put it in your cart, which by the way takes up most of your cart, walk through the front end and bring it home? Why would that be a better experience for paper towels than just having it show up right before you run out?
Yeah, no, some people just don't get it and continue not get it, and I'm sure there are people in Seattle and there are Amazon's various offices that sit there, just continue not getting it,
right?
Because that is their opportunity.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
yeah.
Well, that's this version of the Innovation Conversation. We hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll be back because the Innovation Conversation will continue.